Well,
out there. Is that something you'll factor into practice later in the week if you have to?
yeah, I mean, I started the conversation before we came out here today. I saw the news this morning, and I said to myself, boy, we need to start being proactive on this a little bit here, on every front. I mean, you start seeing all these plane flights canceled. It's kind of what we went through with Wake Forest a year ago. I mean, you have to talk about changing times, changing days. I mean, what are we thinking about here, So I think it's at least something that has to at least be discussed and addressed right now,
Are the conversations right now just within the program, or are you going back?
Well, I mean, it's just been with me and Reggie and that stuff right now, and I started the conversations with Martin, and we just got to see where we're headed here. It's hard, but it's Tuesday.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that thing's coming up, it's coming up, and it looks that way. They always have the ability to change course, but I think you gotta take a hard look at everything.
Who's controlling that? And is that you guys? How much conversation do you have to have with Richmond?
It's really out of my hands. It's really, with Martin, and I think it's more of a, an AD to AD conversation. It's certainly not mine. But from my perspective, I'm watching it today, and I'm certainly concerned about it.
Is there any added kind of stink? You guys went through this last year.
Yeah.
Is there any added awareness knowing how
Yeah.
challenging that was?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was a lot. There was a lot that went into that, and it was we handled it perfect. And we were proactive on that thing. So, I want to make sure we're proactive here as well, which we will be.
It's kind of funny though. This has nothing to do with anything, but considering the way, cause that was early in the season, and the way your season ended, do you ever go back and think about how?
I didn't think about that until you just mentioned it. Yeah. I'm trying to forget what happened at the end of the season. Now, we had a great plan going into the Wake Forest game. On the flip side, I don't know that there was a great plan at that bowl game. It wasn't like that weather wasn't predicted to come in either now. That's why I think you got to be super proactive,
Just one thing I was curious about, David Bailey.
Yeah.
How much have you seen him, or how much did you expect out of him in terms of not just being like a handcuff to AJ, but actually taking on more load and what have you seen? What were the expectations from him?
We felt last year that he had great potential, and he had a great training camp, and this guy would be a legitimate weapon, and he is. And so we're thrilled to death, but it's what we expected after watching him in his freshman year. So it's been great, because I think the future is really bright for him.
How do you balance, if you're playing either next to or if you want to say behind him on the depth chart, you can look at AJ and be like, well, my carries are going to be slim, or you can say, hey, you do what I got. You
know how it goes. Last year, God forbid, AJ got hurt. He missed most of the season. He played, but he wasn't himself. And so I just think at that position, you got to have a good pool of guys, and we do. Patrick Garwo is another guy that is ready to roll. Benny Glines, Travis Levy, David Bailey. You need them all. You need them all. I know how it goes, So all I'm saying right now is, it's hard for any one back to stay healthy in the course of a season. It's really hard. So we're just building our depth and keeping guys fresh. And, I think your best as a back when you're fresh,
That fourth quarter drive, how emblematic was that of how well they can complement each other, especially when you need them to?
They were fresh, and you saw AJ strong at the end. He was stronger at the end than he did even in the beginning. That's a byproduct of that rotation that happened during that game. He was not gassed at all at the end. He was just, I think that's key. When you can do it, that's great, and we can do it. So right now, we're healthy enough to do it. We're going to keep them fresh.
And you took your shot with the receiver pass from Kobe on the drive before.
Yeah.
But was it gratifying at all? No, we're back to the bread and butter right here.
Yeah, it's just, that's a part of our plan is to take those shots, and is live with it, die with it. Unfortunately, we didn't connect on it, and it was a turnover, but we came right back and we, pounded right back at him again and got right back in that game. So we have the ability. We're not a one-punch deal. We've got a lot of punches in there, so we can take our shots at different ways. So I think it's our diversity that's going to help, and it's hard to defend.
How did Joe Sparacio distinguish himself in those scrimmages and give you the confidence to start him against Virginia Tech?
He just started in spring ball. He had a great spring, and then he continued with a great fall camp. He's a explosive, really good athlete, really explosive guy, and you could just see in the spring this guy would make unbelievable strides. He's going to be ready to play. He's a good player.
How did you get a tip on him as far as, recruiting him and getting him out?
So Brian White, recruited him. He's out of that part of Florida that, his dad and I have a really strong relationship from when I recruited down there at Florida. Okay. His dad was the head high school coach at a couple different stops down there, so I've known him a long time. And then Brian had mentioned to me that his dad, Billy, had said, hey, take a look at my son. He went to camp at Clemson, this and that, and so I liked him. I liked his tape, and Clemson, numbers-wise, wasn't going to go on him. I called down to Clemson, and I asked those guys, how'd you like Joe in camp? And they loved him, and loved him as his character, loved his camp. Looked again at his tape, and I said, this guy's for us, man. He had no real Power 5 offers.
Right.
But our evaluation off of our tape and all the research that we did, and me knowing his dad and all the people, around it, we felt really, really good about him. Like he'd be a perfect fit here at Boston College. He was a high school tailback and linebacker, and those guys usually, and he was a really good player. And Brian saw him in spring practice down there in May, and we trusted our evaluation and supported it with people that we knew to support it, and together. That's the kind of stuff we have to do here, and what we have is one hell of a football player, that obviously fell under the radar a little bit, probably like everything else, maybe because of height a little bit, but he's a good player, It's like the Zay Flowers, same kind of thing. They're good players out there, and it's all about being able to evaluate that and hitting right on those guys. We have to hit on those guys. We got to be accurate.
We got 2 more guys.
We saw,
Okay, what do you think of their run-pass option? What's the key to that?
Well, there's a lot of keys. I don't want to get too much into
Okay.
it right now, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's
General.
you got to mix your coverages. You got to mix your fronts and stunts, and you got to get them off pace a little bit with that. Fortunately, we run a fair amount of that stuff here. We don't run as much in the game, although we ran some last Saturday, and so we can give our defense good looks at a lot of these things. Full speed, really good looks.
we saw a lot of Kobe's kind of tough catch-making
Yep.
abilities in the first 2 years.
Yep.
Like now,
It's back.
6-yarder down and the pylon grab. Like,
Yeah.
how much more can we get out of him? And maybe,
I think we got to with Kobe, it's consistency. You saw that a couple of years back, and he was flashing like, wow, this guy, and it's back again now. It's focus, it's concentration, it's maturity, and but he certainly made some really good plays in a really competitive game. I anticipate that'll keep happening. We feel good about our skill. We think we have good skill and good young skill too. So, I think as we move forward here, we have the components to be a very, very balanced, diverse offense, and that's what we've shown. We showed that at an opening day at a very high level of competition.
What do you think of their quarterback? You see film, I just see numbers, but
Yeah.
it looks like he can run, pass efficiently.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a quality player. I told you, Richmond that's one of the best, jobs at that level, and they've got good players. They can recruit. They've got access. And it's a great school. It's a very attractive place. That's a place where a lot of guys who have gone and have great careers played in the NFL. That's a legitimate place, and they've got good players, and he's one of them. He's excellent, and they've got a defensive end. That's another one. He's an outstanding player. They've got some firepower for sure.
said the kid make the Eagles roster. Is that right?
What's
I
that?
just had a kid make the Eagles roster.
Oh, is that right? I didn't know that. Yeah, not surprising. Not surprising at all. Yeah, interesting. All right, guys.
All right, thank you.
See you, man.